this is the iPhone 16 and it comes in at $799, and this is the iPhone 16 Pro and it starts at $999. By the end of this video, I'm going to help you to discover which one is the better pick or which one might be the better fit for you to buy this year. All right, so let's go ahead and begin with the value for the price. Now, first of all, the iPhone 16 is a pretty decent value this year for the price. Considering you have a nice 48 megapixel main camera, you do have yourself the same dynamic island you'll find on the iPhone 16 Pro. You also have the same camera capture button, and you have an A18 chip, which is only about a few percentage points slower than the A18 Pro. You also have a lighter body and a comfortable 6.1 inch screen, which is big enough for most people's needs. So overall, I do think the 16 for the price might be slightly better value, but it is having one con, and that's the lack of a ProMotion display. Now, price for value, the iPhone 16 Pro has a nice audio mix feature. It also does have really great 48 megapixel ultra wide. There's no difference between the camera on this and the bigger Pro Max, so that makes it pretty decent value for money, especially when you consider that that other phone is a couple $100s more, and you could zoom the same distance on this smaller phone. You also have more lenses. But really, the Pro is actually becoming more of a Pro phone these days. Like, if you're not actually using some of these Pro features, then you probably would only buy this for another reason, which is that you just want the most fanciest phone. Because other than that, you have to dig around and play with these features for this to really make a massive difference. So overall, I do think for the money, the 16 is probably better for most people, including the 16 Plus if you want a larger option. So which one to buy in terms of the body and the build, the design? So first of all, if you like pretty design, I do think, or just premium design, I do think the 16 Pro is a better looking phone. For sure, it looks more classy, more premium. But if you like a more youthful design, I would call it, it does have a more zingy color on the ultramarine, as well as the teal. If you just want a standard iPhone look, this is going to be the one for you. If you want a lighter build, it's going to be the 16. It feels much lighter in the hand. It's also thinner. Well, it feels that way anyway. Yeah, it's about 0.5 millimeters thinner. It's not massively so, but it's something. It feels easier to carry around day to day with the iPhone 16. If you want heft though, you want to feel like I got my money's worth, man, this is a lot of phone right here, then you're going to want the 16 Pro. It has that feel to it, just like you got what you paid for. It feels premium all around the board. Titanium is definitely cleaner than stainless steel, although some would argue the stainless steel has a shinier, fancier look. I like titanium because it keeps the phone clean throughout the duration of your usage. It doesn't scratch quite as easily. You don't see scuffs as much as you would see, and you don't see as much fingerprints on either of these phones anymore. They're basically non-existent anymore. And both do have IP68. So at the end of the day, in terms of the body, the build, the design, if you want the more premium, hefty phone, get to the 16 Pro. You're going to be a very happy camper. If you do want a lighter, more manageable, and just more vibrant color, useful look, I would say go with the iPhone 16. It will be a better choice for you in that respect. All right, so let's talk about the displays. And I want to bring in the iPhone 15 Pro for this example, because when we're talking about the displays here, the iPhone 16 is actually very much similar to the iPhone 15 Pro's display. Actually, it's more in line with the base 15, but I'm using this as an example of the bezels. So you can see the bezels are exactly the same size. It has that same kind of feel as a 15 or 15 Pro. So this is last year's panel without a ProMotion here for the iPhone 16. It definitely has a really nice sharpness. It's around 460 pixels per inch, and Apple did increase the resolution a little bit on the 16 Pro to match that 460 pixels per inch on the iPhone 16. But if you take a closer look at that 6.3 on the iPhone 16 Pro, those bezels are much nicer looking. And it definitely makes a difference. It makes it feel like a compact but larger display. So it's a very comfortable but larger experience than ever before on the Pro. So it really just comes down to, do you want the most display you can get without having the biggest, bulkiest size, that's going to be the iPhone 16 Pro. If you just love the 6.1, the way they've been doing things since the 13, you'll want the 16 because that's pretty similar to that, but a lighter body, a lighter build. They also do have the same aspect ratio at 19:9, so the width of the panels is going to be easy on both of them. It's going to have a nice spaciousness for you to type out text and things of that sort. But the dynamic islands are in the same location, same size. But it's really coming down to them bezels and that slight extra size of screen. That's what it comes down to between these two. Now, when we talk about the software, we're running iOS 18 official right here. I am let down by the fact that they did not bring iOS 18.1. That's just unlike Apple to bring something like super late when it was supposed to come out at launch. But I definitely wish they would have brought that right on time. But you do have customization. This will be getting the iPhone 16 will be getting the Apple Intelligence just like the Pro, so it's not left behind. And some people have been calling the iPhones that aren't getting them like a light version of iOS 18. You could do the dark mode icons, move icons wherever you want on screen, and it just makes for a really nice experience. iOS is very smooth here. Even though this is a 60 hertz panel, this software runs very good on this phone, even though, again, doesn't have that smoother refresh panel. It still runs as you would expect, like a super smooth experience. Just wish it was 120 hertz at this point. Now, the iPhone 16 Pro does give you a more fluid feel, and it's pretty evident, especially when you compare them side by side as we're doing right here. But it's going to have the same feature set, the Apple Intelligence, and all that jazz. There is a few more camera enhancements in the software here that you don't get on the iPhone 16, and that's due to having an extra camera. But both of them do have the action button software built right in, so you can custom control the action button, and they both have that camera capture button. Oh, camera's right there. So if we go over here, you'll see you might have a few more modes in here, like raw modes and certain things like that for this Pro phone, but over there you won't. But you will be both getting that camera capture button software where if you go ahead and click on there, you can swipe through different things, depth, you can do f-stops and stuff like that, double click right there. You can go to the zooming functionality. So they'll both have that experience, so that's not very different. And they both will have the same length of software updates pretty similarly. So both of them in software, it's a go. I would say though, if you want a little bit more, then you get a couple camera features on the 16 Pro. When it comes to performance, both of them run fantastic. As a matter of fact, their Geekbench scores are not very off, like from compared to each other. You could see the iPhone 16 is actually clocked at the same 4.04 gigahertz with the same RAM. I really love how the iPhone 16 base this year has similar performance to the Pro. As a matter of fact, you can see in this particular benchmark I did, the iPhone 16 got a better score. If we look at this one I did initially, you can see the iPhone 16 Pro got a better score. But look at that difference. There's really nothing to speak of. It's basically neck and neck here. So that Pro chipset in the A18 Pro chipset in the iPhone 16 Pro is not really going to change anything for you. You have essentially the same performance as the base model. That's really good for those of you who want to save some money. And taking a look at these Wildlife Extreme scores, look at them pulling in that same 23 FPS right there with the 16 on that particular benchmark doing a little better. Even on this one I did, the iPhone 16 did better. I could have been doing it earlier or later after opening apps, but you'll see that from a performance standpoint, the 16 is better value because you're getting nearly as much performance without having to pay as much as the Pro. So the A18 Pro chipset might have a little bit better GPU, a little bit of extra performance, maybe a tiny bit, but this year it's so small. The gap is not like before when they were putting last year's chip in the base model. This is not way ahead. So I like the performance of the iPhone 16, but what really separates it is what you can actually see is ProMotion. So ProMotion still gives it that benefit if you want that, but from a pure technical chipset standpoint, the 16 is still excellent. And when we talk about the storage, both of them will be starting at 128 gigs, as you see in these options right here. And I think that's enough for a lot of users, especially if they have iCloud data. But you know, that's the cheapest you're going to get them. You're going to go over well over 1,000 plus on these phones if you start going up in the storage tiers, especially on the 16 Pro. You go up one, you're already at 1,100 or so. So you're definitely much higher with the 16 Pro, whereas you can get some more storage for under $1,000 on the base model 16. So 16 is going to be a better value for storage just because that phone starts out at a cheaper price. So as you go up in the storage levels, it's still going to come in at less than the base model of the iPhone 16 Pro. So if you want more storage for money, that's going to be the iPhone 16. All right. So when talking about the camera, I don't want to talk about this too long because they basically have similar camera experiences, but the iPhone 16 Pro gives you more zoom. So if you want more zoom, 25 times, over here 10 times. So it's massively more zoom. As a matter of fact, some of the older Pros had more zoom than the base 16. So if zoom's your thing, the 16 is not for you. Neither that or the 16 Plus. You'll want a Pro if you want zoom, or an older Pro even that has more zoom than this, like a 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max. They'll still have more zoom than the new one. But they both have really good video, 4K 60, cinematic modes, and better ultra wide shots on the iPhone 16 Pro if you want that. They both have spatial video options, and both have similar front facing cameras that do essentially the same quality on the front. So you can't really get much better quality on the front of the iPhone 16 Pro. They're both coming at 12 megapixels, and both of them can do 4K 60. There is one benefit though to the iPhone 16 Pro, and that is that if you want to do slow motion 4K at 120, you can do that. The iPhone 16 cannot do 4K 120. So if you're going to be doing that or actually using that feature set, that's not going to be the phone for you here. So you can do slow motion, you can do HD 240 and 120. So you're topping out at HD. And the iPhone 16 Pro also has that 4 mic array. So you can get better audio performance on this phone versus that device over there. So this is the true creator's tool when it comes to camera. It's like buying a camera, but it has a phone. This one is like the everyday person's high quality phone camera. So that's how I would decide. If you're a true professional using those professional features, or you plan to use photography in your future, or that's just something you're getting into as a hobby, or you're a creator, you're going to be creating on any type of social media platform and you want the top dog, that's going to be the 16 Pro. If you want really good performance, you're a casual user every day, and you still want high quality, that's the iPhone 16. And when it comes to battery, the iPhone 16 actually has a physically smaller battery. It's a 3561. Over here, we have a 3582 on the Pro, but because it's 0.2 inches larger, it is powering a slightly larger display. At the end of the day, I'm not finding massive differences between these. These two phones have really good battery life for what they are, for their sizes. They get you through the day, and then you're going to be charging at night, but they don't really make you too worried about a charging during the day, especially if you top up to 100 before you leave. Now, they're not 16 Pro Max level where you can just go out with like 70% and you're going to last the whole day. These phones, I'm going to be a little bit concerned with that. I'm going to 100 to start my day, or maybe even 90 or so to start my day. That is to say they're a full day phone, but they're not much more than that. And if they're heavy using, they might not even make it a full day under heavy camera photography, high brightness GPS. You might top these out by 7, 8 o'clock at night. So these are good, but they're not max level great. So which to buy in terms of the phone call quality? Well, it doesn't matter which one you go with. They both have improved modems, and they both have really good fast T9 dialers on iOS 18. They have call screening, or it's call recording, excuse me. And the devices just do better than ever before with signal strength. However, they're still not beating some other Samsung phones I've tried. They're pretty much getting at the same level though, so it's not really a big topic. They're good in that respect for making your phone calls. Audio performance was slightly louder for the iPhone 16 Pro, so if that's something that matters to you, if you need a slightly louder booming speaker, you'll want the 16 Pro. But I will tell you also that both of these have very fast Bluetooth connections, so if you're looking for that, you're going to just want to use some AirPods, something like that. It's going to connect very fast. After analyzing these since launch, I've had them both since launch. I do have to say I'm coming away pretty impressed with the base model 16 for what it's offering besides the 60 hertz. It feels literally like a lighter, slightly less refresh rate display 15 Pro, but without that extra camera and without that big price tag. So to me, this is a very decent phone this year. It's definitely got the latest chip, Apple Intelligence coming. So this reminds me more of like when the iPhone 13 came out. It really does. It really has that kind of like everything in the kitchen sink, but without that one feature kind of feel. So I really do like the 16 and the 16 Plus if you want the larger panel. But if it was down to this two, I'm probably going to pick the 16 Pro as my go-to option because it's the first iPhone with a 6.3 inch screen, so you get a little bit larger display. It does have more zoom, a little bit longer battery life. It's very small, but a little bit. And the phone just overall has a nicer, newer feel to it because of the thinner bezels. So for me, I'm going with the 16 Pro. But if you find yourself resonating with more of the things I was saying about the 16 Pro, then go with that one. But if you find yourself resonating with more of the things I was saying about the iPhone 16, you find that being more for you, then go with this phone. Either way, you're not really losing, but I do think if you go with a 16, the 17 models might make you a little disappointed because those are probably going to be the first ones with 90 hertz or 120 hertz refreshes. So let me know which one you would pick down below in the comments section. Thumbs up if you enjoyed this comparison, and stay tuned for more because we still have some more comparisons to do with some other phones that we haven't talked about just yet. So I'll catch you all in the next episode. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.